Hello, Glenn again with Falcon Quest, Birds of Prey. Today we're going to be talking about the leash extender. The important thing about the leash extender is it helps your bird from not getting tangled when either tied to a perch or tied inside of the mews, that type of a thing. Really important to have when you're dealing with a new bird. A bird that's maybe a passage bird that's been trapped from the wild. Especially if you get into the accipiters like the Cooper's hawk, the goshawk, that type of thing, where you have a real active bird moving around a lot. In case you don't know what a leash extender is, I'm going to show you. This bird here has a leash extender. So you have your two jesses coming down, and they come down to the leash extender, which is this piece. Then you have the swivel, and then you have the leash. What happens is, it's kind of hard to get in this picture, but the swivel has weight to it. In fact, sometimes we want a heavier duty swivel because we want more weight. And here, where the jesses come together and they make the Y from each foot, they come together. If you don't have this leash extender, this swivel can get caught up in these jesses and get all tangled up and get tangled around the legs and gets all like a big knot, and it can turn into a big mess, and it can also be detrimental to the bird. And flip in between here, go in here like this and get all messed up, and that's where you run into trouble. So again, today we are going to be talking about the leash extender, and we're going to learn how to make it. Extremely easy to make. Here I am with the little lanner tiercel. I'm going to go ahead and put its hood on him so I can show you the leash extender that I have on this bird. Okay, this is a little bit different, but same concept. You have your two jesses coming together. Now this is all a braided system. This is not made from leather. I don't know how to braid, so all my braided stuff is purchased, of course. But here you can see the two jesses coming together. You have the leash extender coming down to the swivel, coming down to the leash. And now this leash extender, this braided leash extender, is very rigid actually. And it's very hard, almost impossible for this to flip up in the jesses and get tangled up. And that's the whole purpose, is we want to keep the swivel and this part of the leash from getting tangled up in these jesses. So here is a system without the leash extender. So you have the two jesses coming down, and then it goes directly into the swivel, and then your leash. A little bit different design of swivel than you've seen in the other examples. But your two jesses come into the swivel, into the leash. Let me put the hood on this bird and I'll show you. Just stand by. Okay, so when these two jesses come down together, this whole system, if this bird is tied to a perch, like a bow perch, or tied inside of a mews, whatever the situation might be, and the bird's bouncing around, especially if unhooded, this swivel system can easily swing around, get looped inside of these jesses, and it looks something like this. This little problem right here can be a serious problem moments later, because this will keep getting tangled. As the bird moves around, it will spin around, get tangled, get wrapped around the legs, and you have a really big mess on your hands. That is the purpose of the leash extender. So let's build the leash extender. So let's build the leash extender together. Once I realized what the leash extender is, how extremely easy it is to make, started to incorporate that, I seldom get the tangles that you can run into. In falconry, of course, as you know, we don't want our birds getting tangled up. So to build the leash extender is extremely easy. I'll go through it with you. Go through it with you here. And you can use any piece of leather. This is a piece of leather I was showing on one of my previous videos. I was showing you how to make a jess. I put my 3 holes in, folded it over, put the leather through, and made my leather jess. Any piece of leather will work as long as it's the right proportions. As I was showing, this was what I was using in the past for making a jess. Well, this is a perfect length to work with the leash extender. Here is a blank jess that I purchased, the leather. This is actually kangaroo leather. This would work perfect for a leash extender. Here is some leftover leather that I had, and by the time you put your 2 slits on the end and you fold it together on itself, one end's going to go around the jesses, the other end is going to go around the swivel. You're almost getting too short with this piece. You need, you know, this might be a little bit short for a smaller bird, a smaller swivel. This probably work for a leash extender. I'm gonna use this as my piece of leather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut where these holes are that I made with the leather punch. I'm going ahead and I'm going to cut those off on this end, and where this has been cut to make a point, I'll probably leave that. I'll put my hole here, so when it's all folded over on either end, my leash extender is going to be about that long, and I think that's going to work pretty good. I have my leather punch on the smallest hole sized, smallest diameter hole size. And so I'm going to go ahead and put my hole towards the end, punch that in, go down a little bit, make me a nice slit like that. Have my 2 holes. I'm going to join those holes with my handy dandy knife. I'm going to cut and join those 2 holes. Again, for reference, those 2 holes are there to prevent that cut, that slit, from extending further down the leather. It's kind of like a stop gap. So you put the 2 holes there. Of course, I'll need the same end over here. I'll need to do the same thing on this end. Get all my stuff together here. Put my leash around my neck so I have it. So here we go. This is the one end. I have my 2 holes cut with my slit. Same thing for this end. Doesn't have to be pointy. I could cut off these ears real quick. All right, I'll cut my ears off. These little sharp tabs. There we go. So now, basically, to use this is extremely simple. You have your 2 jesses coming together, and you just use this end to put the 2 jesses together. And then this end, you put your swivel on. Always, you know, one end of the swivel spins, the other does not. I always put the end that does not spin connected to either the jesses or the leash extender. And you know how this works. Put that in there. But for those of you that are learning, maybe you don't know how it works. You slide that through there, you pull it down, go around the swivel part, and you fold it back on itself. There we go. Fold it back on itself. Wonderful. Or in German, wunderbar. And then we do this here. Now I got the swivel dangling. Remember, this is tied to your jesses. And then this is the part that spins on this end. Take my leash, and I put my leash through there, pull it through, tie this to the perch or whatever you're tying to, and this spins. This goes up to the jesses. So this leash extender is going to be this long, about this long when it's all done. It's a little long for a small bird, pretty good for red-tailed hawk size, big falcon or whatever. So that's a pretty good size leash extender. So that's it. It's that simple. It is that simple to make the leash extender. It prevents a lot of problems, a lot of tangles. It's healthier for the bird, potentially healthier for the bird. So I hope you enjoyed this video from Falcon Quest, Birds of Prey, and that you maybe seen something you hadn't seen before, or maybe you saw something that you have seen before, but it's just a good review for you. And as Falcon Quest always does, I like to post things that are interesting, helps us in the falconry community, those who are interested, maybe apprentice falconers, or those who are thinking about becoming an apprentice. Well, this is an opportunity for you to see some of the tricks of the trade. We don't have to buy everything. We can buy the leathers and things, and we can make our own items, which is pretty awesome in the realm, in the world of falconry. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. If you have any comments, put them in the comment section. I'll get back to them, and I'll get back to you eventually. And thank you for your time, and you have a blessed day.
The question is, most importantly, right now, at this moment in time, is Sasquatch real? That's right, Bigfoot. Well, there he is. I think he might be real. Bye.